Well, hello, folks. Today we are reviewing one of my most anticipated releases. We are talking about the Prime Smart Arm. They've decided to create a unit that replaces all of the units I have over here into one unit designed for home gyms, attaches to a rack, uses their adjustable bench in an ecosystem, and I got a lot of opinions. Some positive, but also some really negative ones. Let's get into the review. Hey guys, this is Scoop from Garage and Reviews. We're here in my beautiful garage, which is very much changing a lot, largely because I'm doing it. I'm building a freaking shop in the backyard. Can't wait, it's gonna be amazing. But you're not here for that right now, you're here for this. If you're interested in the Prime Smart Arm, we have a link below the like button that you can purchase. They'll pay a small commission, doesn't increase the price you pay, but we also have a code GGR for 5% off. And if you'd like to see any comparisons on this versus others, let me know in the comments and make sure you subscribe because we can have those for free. Honestly, this is the piece I've been most excited for some time, and it pretty much all comes down to this little arm right here, the Smart Arm technology. Prime is the only company that can do this because they have the patent. They also make very good machines in the US, high quality materials, very durable. It's a reason that I've just continued to look on the used market to buy their machines. It's also the reason that they have over a year wait time for many of their machines. Well, now they have quick ship opportunity to have that for home gyms on an in-rack unit. And when I saw that, I was like, yes. Now the reality of it, when you get it in-house, it can change. But let's get into the review. First off, I want to talk about the assembly and unboxing. Prime's shipping and packaging specifically is fantastic. It's also very expensive. Their shipping, they add on to the cost of their equipment, but they pack and ship their stuff very well. Cardboard is very thick. They use a ton of tape. Not only that, but they're using these styrofoam packs that are bagged and inside, and they are amazing. Except when your two little hellion kids decide to take all of them out and use them for a pillow fight. I'm not kidding, here's a picture of that I came home to.
Oh my Lord. I would have killed them.
Look at them, same shirt, they're so cute. But packaging was really well done. Assembly is really quick, by the way. I'd also say this is technically in some ways like a 1.2 version because they released an initial version and they had problems with it, which I ordered pretty much right when they came out with it. I didn't get mine. Other people got theirs, basically gave them feedback, and they went back to the drawing board and fixed some of the issues, which some of the initial issues I will say they fixed. That doesn't mean they fixed every issue, which I'll get into. The way that you attach this is you can have a wall mount. I have the wall mount, probably not gonna use it because I'm not gonna take this off. The reality is this is gonna stay here. I would say for a lot of you, if you get this, it's probably gonna stay where it goes, not just because it's kind of cumbersome to move, but I would say in part because it's so versatile, you can use it for so much. You put the wall mount there, you stick it into the number 14 hole, it fits very tight on a Prime upright. It's great. It also fits on a Rogue upright, Rep upright, any really 3x3, 1-inch hole rack, 3x3, that includes a 75 by 75 millimeter. It's gonna fit just fine. You put it into the slot. You then have this piece on the back that comes off, which by the way, is actually pretty well thought through because it has this plastic piece that protects the upright, but also these two magnets. So you can place it when you're basically taking the unit off, and then you know it's there when you want to put it back on, and that's how you lock it in. I didn't have to use any shims on the Prime upright. Once you lock this in, it's not going anywhere. Like, it is very solid. The only thing that moves is whatever it's connected to, which is very nice and matters a lot because use this for a lot of movements and potentially use it with a lot of weight. Now, once you have it on the rack, there are some things that you have to make adjustments to. One adjustment is this. This you're gonna use for different movements. This goes up and back. Feels very similar like every other Prime piece. Has a chrome tube with an indet with their stickers. Feels just like a commercial piece, that portion. You also have attachments. That's what these are. These come out. This is a leg roller. It comes standard with the unit. And pretty much everything else you gotta buy. If you want the adjustable bench too, you wanna do everything, it's like 12 freaking different pieces. And there's not even a pack you can buy it with. I digress, I'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, one thing that is pretty cool that they added is the option to use a weight stack. So on their Prime single stack, this would work for their HLP racks too. And it would probably work for other companies like Prime or like Rogue or Rep, potentially, is you can take a carabiner, put it on your functional trainer, and then attach it to this bad boy right here. So now you can use the smart arm with a cable stack if you don't want to use the loadable arms. I will say, one of the coolest things about this is the fact that you can overload certain portions of the movement. But if you're somebody that's like choosing between quick and optimal, just go with quick, and you can use the stack that's already embedded. Pretty smart and a pretty cheap add-on that they could do. Then another piece that you have to add is the counterweight. So on most Prime pieces, they have a block of iron that's wrapped in rubber that they have calibrated and they put on the back. That makes it so if you don't have any weight on there, it makes it so it's really light to move, but also just affects the strength curve. You don't technically have to use these. It will affect the strength curve. They recommend it, and the amount they recommend is 20 pounds. So I've got two beautiful Strength Co plates, 10-pound plates here. I place on here. They fit just fine. There is a problem though. Prime's initial release had a washer here that most or a lot of plates it wouldn't work for. So they came out with another version. Well, I didn't get that version. I got no version. Right now, I have nothing to hold these on. So they just sit there, on there, and you kind of have to be careful so they don't fall off. So if I go really heavy with it, I kind of just take one off. That way the other one doesn't fall off. I could also put tape over it just for now. I reached out to Prime. I'm sure they're gonna send one. It's just annoying. You spend that much on something, you really want it to come good from the beginning. Then the other piece that you adjust is this. This is the sundial. You're used to seeing this on any plate-loaded machine. They went with holes all the way around the sundial. I absolutely love that. Biggest thing I don't like about this, which I will say this is a massive miss, is the fact that there's no numbers letting you know what holes you're in. Well, one of the things they include is this beautiful 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and gives you detailed instructions on the degrees of your bench, where you place the stop. But because they didn't put numbers on the sundial, you don't know what numbers, they don't tell you. So you kind of just got to guess each time, is this the right one? Because there's no marking. So what I foresee a lot of people doing is getting some stickers and put it on there. What I'll say to Prime, you made this mistake once already, which was this upright. You included stickers with the original version and then realized, that's kind of a problem because they fall off, it's not very premium. So the new upright, you now have laser cut numbers. You should have just at least started with stickers, would have been nice, or laser cut them. Okay, you get your unit, the smart arm, on the rack. I'm using this on a single stack. You can use this on a normal rack or an extension that comes off. You then have to place your bench. Well, the bench uses the shorty bench. You gotta have the shorty bench. I'm sure you could come up with some other bench to use, but the shorty bench, it's like an ecosystem. They made this thing to all fit together, which in part is pretty cool if you got money to spend. But one of the things that they've done with this is they've added, as a la carte option, another thing that you can buy is the bench locator. This is the bench locator. Go ahead and guess how much this bad boy costs. This bad boy is $150 just to locate where your bench goes. Not to lock your bench in, just to locate where it goes. It's definitely over-engineered. This is what I think they should do for people that don't buy this, is just give us like a piece of paper. You're already sending out pieces of paper with some sort of like diagram so I could place it on the ground in relation to my foot and then draw a chalk line. If you had that, you'd be just fine. Because the other reality is this bench doesn't lock into the locator. It just locates it, and it doesn't locate it perfectly and doesn't locate it for every movement. For instance, when you do arm curls, they want you to be 15.5 inches off of the locator. What? So what I'd say, if you're considering, should I spend $150 on a bench locator? I'd say definitely not. Hey, locate my bench.
It's right next to you.
Perfect.
Are you blind?
Okay, then you place the bench in. You gotta use a shorty bench. The shorty bench is a fantastic bench. If you'd like to see a full breakdown of the shorty bench, I've done one on the adjustable bench. You can let me know in the comments. But for different movements, you place it in different places. The first one we'll do, because I've got the attachment on here, will be the hamstring curl. There, your bench is located where it needs to go. You basically rub it up against the locator and then you know it's there. But one thing to recognize is you kind of got to look and shimmy it, because you got to be dead on with the ankle roller. So it's not like a really quick process. It's not super long either. It's kind of similar to when you line up your bench on benching, like actual bench pressing. You kind of just got to look at it and shimmy it a little bit. Then you're locked in, you can do your hamstring curls. So I want to talk through some of the attachments they have that kind of work for this. One, this is the hamstring curl. So you have to have this to do prone leg curls. Each movement generally has specific attachments that you're going to need to use for them. There's a couple that are like movements they throw on there. There's 6 different movements they started with. I've got one that I think works well too, which I'll show you, that they don't include. But you're going to have quite a bit of attachments for all this stuff. You got to buy the bench. You got to have the hamstring pad. For leg extensions, you need the leg extension pad. Then if you want to do curls, you need the arm curl pad. Then if you want to do arm curls, you also need a place to put your hands. That's this guy right here. You then decide, oh, there's 2 sides to my arms. Also want to hit the triceps. You're gonna need this bad boy right here. But wait, I forgot. I need something to rest my back. Well, you're gonna need the $375 back pad. Oh wait, you realize your bench doesn't come with the side rails. Also, the back pad doesn't come with the side rails that your back pad has to rest in. So what do? You do what I just did. I just went online yesterday and ordered another basically attachment rails so I could attach this. So right now, because it wasn't really written online, they had it in small italics. I went back and looked. You gotta have the side rails for this too. So it's like, man, it's just a lot. But let me walk through the movements and tell you what I think about them. Okay, 6 primary movements. Leg extension seems like the king, at least that they're talking about most. Part of that is because their leg extension, I literally have it over there, is, at least in my opinion, the best in the world. It's amazing. So my goal with this was, can they get 80% of the way there? I'll tell you that. So leg extension, you then have the prone lying leg curl, which I mentioned. You have the arm curl. Again, I love their arm curl machine. I have the commercial version right over there. I can tell you how they compare. Also, the tricep extension is on this. Then you have the back extension, and you also have the weighted abdominal crunch. Let me add the attachments to do the movement and then talk through it. First, the prone leg curl, because it's on here. This is the pad you need for the prone leg curl. Here's what I'll say about the prone leg curl. It feels eerily similar to the actual machine. I'm not kidding, it feels very similar. So when I say there's a lot of things I don't like about this, and I've been kind of talking about it's really expensive, all that sort of stuff, like I have very real critiques. At the same time, there are movements on this that feel absolutely incredible. Way better than most other machines that are out there and very close to the real machine. So you get on, after you adjust the dial, you have the 3 different weight loading pins, which is one thing that separates this from the isolator, is the fact that you can overload the different parts. The isolator is great, also much cheaper when you add all the components up. But one thing that Prime has that really nobody else can have is the ability to load the different parts of the movement, which means you load this 3rd pin, it's heaviest in the stretch portion. You load the middle pin, it's kind of even throughout, and then you load the number 2 pin, and it's heaviest at the most concentric portion of the movement. So for hypertrophy, that's amazing because you can overload the stretch portion, which has been shown to basically be the most hypertrophic of the movements. So for leg curl, once you line up, you lay on the bench. There's not a great place to put your hands. It's one of the things about this bench. Like, it doesn't really feel like it was necessarily designed for these movements. It felt like they were like, how can we add this on for that? Also, you'll notice my head's probably getting red. That's because I'm at a very vertical angle, much more than most prone leg curls. Not a huge deal, feels fine to me, but there may be people that have a little vertigo or something when they're upside down, and it kind of feels like that. But the actual movement itself, you're able to have a great stretch and great curl. One thing though, on that note, and you'll find this for a lot of these movements that I'll speak about, it would be great to be able to have a seat belt or some way to secure your basically trunk to the bench to prevent it from flying up. Okay, then let's go to the leg extension. By the way, this is the leg extension pad. I just wanna show the knurling on here. Very cool, great addition. Locks in just like that. You then move it to the degree marking they have on there. It's 20 degrees, boom. Okay, you're now set up for leg extensions. You're gonna have to adjust this pad. You don't have to change out the roller. Your bench will stay where the bench locator was for the leg curls. Again, you ideally would have something there, but I'll just do it kind of carefully. You can do leg extensions. This is a very light leg extension. For ham curls, it was light too, but not nearly as light. When I do leg extensions on the regular piece, I have 345s at the third pin, a 10 or a 5 at the third pin, a 45, 25. I mean, there's just a lot of weight on there. So can this handle that much? Yes, it can. I will say, if you're gonna add this to a rack that isn't secured to the ground, like, you just don't do that. Like, this one has the tri-post design, and it also has a really heavy stack on the back, so I can go heavy without worries of it tipping over. But if you're just gonna put this on a normal rack, you're gonna either need to screw it to the ground or make sure it's loaded with a lot of weight. Because once you start stacking plates on here, you see this arm juts out, it's a cantilever. One thing you'll see, the ankle roller does have some deflection. One thing I would have liked to see is a thicker tube here, because like you can see it kind of deflects a little bit over here, which means that this leg isn't gonna go quite as stretched as this one. It's also probably gonna go a little bit further. I don't think it's a major deal. It's one reason people like center drive leg extensions, but it is worth calling out. That's one thing I think they could have improved, is making that tube thicker. One thing I will say I was kind of surprised on, the padding that is on this seat pad for the leg extension is softer and just overall just doesn't feel as good behind the knees as the commercial prime unit. Also recognize one reason I'm not using the back pad is because I don't have the side rails, which don't come with the bench and didn't come with the back pad. So if you want to use a back pad, you're gonna have to do the side rails in addition to the back pad. That's annoying. Next, arm curl. Honestly, for a lot of people, I think they're really gonna like the arm curl. This goes in here and allows you to basically have a preacher curl. Now, this is the one that they tell you to take off 15.5 inches in front of the bench locator. It just doesn't seem like something they really thought a lot through. But then you take the arm handle, which again, these are all separate and quite expensive. I will say this one is very well done. These are individual arms, so it's easy to do one arm at a time. They move individually. I mean, no doubt about it, Prime, when they make stuff, generally make it really good. Also, the handle swivel too. Slides in there. You do have these cotter pins that go on the other side. Again, one thing I'd say, like for the price of this, I just feel like there may be like a knurled knob or something other than a cotter pin, but not a major deal. You put that in, you then put your bench, 15.5 inches. Okay, again, this is a machine I have. I love their arm machine. It really doesn't make a lot of sense to have like a $4,000 machine that does just arm curls. This is a such better use of the money. Right here, heavy stretch. And I'm able to get a full stretch. Like, that is no tension. When I have tension, I'm here. Feels great. Come all the way up. The load offloads as I come up. And then here, heavy stretch. Oh, it feels great. You can do one arm. And it feels very good. Honestly, I love this angle of being forward. I'm not worried about like getting tension or anything. The angle feels fantastic. You could technically adjust the angle if you wanted to a little bit sharper angle or less, but the arm curl, very well done. Okay, tricep extension. You're going to remove the arm piece that you were using for curls. Again, it would be nice if they had a single-use piece for arms for both triceps and extensions. I think they could do it, but they decided not to. This is the tricep bar. Here's what I'll say of the tricep movement. Out of all the movements, it's the worst in my opinion. They're using like this open cell foam piece here. If you look on a commercial Prime unit, they may be using this, but then they wrap it in leather. So it's just like nice. This wasn't like a cheap unit. Nothing else here feels cheap. It's like, I don't think it would have cost that much more. This is just gonna soak up your sweat and everything. It just feels cheap compared to the rest of the stuff. You move your bench to the opposite side. You move your sundial, throw on your tricep handle, and then you do your triceps. Okay, the actual tricep machine from Prime or Strive is very well done. One reason it's well done is because it's the same movement, but it has a back pad. Here's the problem, think about this. I'm going for a heavy load on this side and I'm trying to push it down right there. What do you think happens to my back? It comes off the bench. So I'm giving it hell, all I've got, basically to stay on the bench, which prevents me from really getting as much tension on my triceps as I want, because I want to focus on the triceps. So There is one hack, which I actually got this from No Way Jose. This is how you do it. You can take this bench, again, not ideal, but works. You can then strap yourself so that you're locked into the bench so that you're not coming off. This is this does bring up like a general problem with this idea. They built this for the shorty bench. In my mind, when they designed the shorty bench, I may be wrong, but it doesn't feel to me like they designed the shorty bench for this unit. They had the shorty bench already, and they're like, let's add one of these units that works with the shorty bench. Reason being, this is a ladder system that doesn't lock in. So there's no ability really to strap to it and do it really safely, because if you come up too far, that bench pad is going to come up, it's going to lock in the different parts. So it just like can fall, just a little bit of annoyance. But once you're locked in, it is better because you can brace against it versus without it. You have to make sure it's far enough off so the knobs don't hit, and then you're able to go to full range of motion. You can go to full range on every movement just fine. Then there's two more movements, which I don't think they're like primary movements, but they're ones they talk about. One is an abdominal crunch, the other's a back extension. If you're looking to mimic a back attack, the back extension doesn't get all the way there, largely because you're not able to secure your lower body. The weighted abdominal works okay too. One thing I just say is those movements I feel like are secondary. The other movements I feel like are primary, and they do really well for the primary movements. Now, one other movement you can do that I've messed with, I think you can get there, is the legendary seated row from Prime. So the seated row basically allows you to put the bench up here. You then take one of these and add straps to it. And then because you have the torque arm here, you can use it for rows. You'd put the bench on the other side and do the rows. It works for that. But one thing I'll say, they kind of took an Apple approach to this, which is like, let's just throw it out in the market and see what people come up with. Like Apple did that with their App Store. Basically, they're like, hey, here's some movements. I think other people will come up with more. And so I foresee people attaching pulleys up over their heads so they can do lat pull downs and all sorts of other stuff. That's one of the fun parts with this. All in, when you factor the cost of everything, when you factor in the use of it, when you factor in comparisons to individual units or things like the isolator, how do I think this compares? Generally, this feels to me like an expensive rush to market product with very high potential, but it's not there yet. So for most of you watching, I definitely would not recommend this. There's too much tinkering. There's too many things that I think they still need to dial in. They already did have to dial some stuff in from their initial release. To me, it's an annoyance. It's like, man, if you just got that into some people's hands from the start, I think they would have seen some of these issues. But the potential for this is amazing. But without the ability to like lock in the bench to the actual upright, lock in the back pad, the expense of some of the attachments, also just some like minor things that's like, why didn't they think of this? Like numbers on the sundial. When you add it up and you're like, wow, you're being really kind of harsh on this. Well, it's very expensive. The more you spend, like the more you critique, like just how it is. So if you're expecting a certain experience. So for me, if I was sitting on the fence, or I had a friend that was asking, should I buy it or should I not? I would say wait and see if they come out with a version 2. Unless you really need it, you're all in on Prime, and you're fine with some of the critiques I made. Okay, this has been Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. By the way, if you want to use our code GGR, it'll save you 5%. We'll put a link below the like button where you can check it out. Also, if you'd like to see this comparison directly to an isolator or maybe any other equipment, let me know in the comments. This has been Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. I'll see you next time. Peace.